We didn't come this far to slow down now. Let 2021 be the year that you light up, that you wake up, that you shake up that special something in your soul, that you reach out and work for that health, that life, that vibrant living you know is possible. Let this be the year. Let this be the day. Let this be the moment that you believe in miracles again. Hey, everybody, it is Dr. Devin, and I am here. Oh, I'll probably get teary-eyed with one of my heroes, my big brother, probably the mentor who gave me permission without saying a word to be me and step up and serve up. The man who taught me clarity and certainty and conviction and commitment, Dr. Tim Young.
Devin, thank you so much for that introduction. Wow. But you know what's interesting? It's like giving a storm permission to be a storm. It doesn't need your permission. It was going to be a storm whether you want it to or not. So thank you for that recognition. But sister, you were coming whether I gave you permission or not. So thank you.
Well, you may have fanned the flames. And so for better, for worse, here we are, right? So
Yeah.
I know you. If there's a chiropractic assistant, or people that have come to the big idea, they know you. But for the people who don't know you, give us the little, like, who is Tim Young? Where are you at in the world? What are you up to?
Okay, so it's interesting. I'll make a very long story very short because we don't have time for it all. But I'm just like everybody else. I'm a guy, but my journey has been pretty significant, and I didn't realize how significant it was until you start breaking it down and using your stories of your life to help others. And that's really what we should all do. But I'm a really, at heart, I am a down home country hillbilly from the Southwest hills of Missouri. I was really raised in an area that most people, you would have to go to Google's Maps to find it, and then you really wouldn't believe that it exists. That's where I'm originally from. But my journey has led me through a course of several events that we can get into along the way if we choose to chiropractic. And then within chiropractic, I took the same principles that I was taught, back as a child and growing up, working in the hay fields, working in the milk barns, out in the woods, busting wood. I mean, you got up every day and you worked to live. You hunted for food. You survived, and those survival instincts, those work instincts, those traits into chiropractic led me not only to dive into the philosophy of what we do and the why, the how and the what. That's just a byproduct. I because of Dr. Gibson, which I'm going to go to dinner with next weekend, but he taught us that the true fundamentals or the true philosophies of why we do, and I grabbed onto that and I took it and ran with it. And then we grew one of the largest practices literally in the world. I know that because I'm all over the world. And then, and now then with the other programs, with teaching programs and coaching programs and seminars, and just like you, we're just trying to reach more people. And it's not about the what and the return. It's about the gift and the serve. And that's who Tim Young is. He's the guy that is reaching out. And now we're kind of expanding. We're going out of the chiropractic realm into the everyday world of the person that's, drives a tow truck or is a mom at home or has got a yoga studio or whatever. People in general want to hear a positive, uplifting message of the ones that didn't have, that made it. How can I make it also? And that's what we give too. So again, serve. That's what we do.
I was going to say how appropriate that shirt of yours is in every word that you just shared. And I remember, I graduated in 2010. I probably first heard you speak in 2010, 2011. And one of the first times was this deep, powerful little short one-liner of, when you know a truth, it becomes your responsibility to serve that truth.
Absolutely.
And you do that. A lot of people talk about it, but you do that in a very special way. And you've probably always had that grit, right? That X factor. If you are that backwoods, we get that some of that backstory. military. You didn't have an easy get up to start in practice, right? So there's been challenges at every step, but you find a way, you make a way, you can't stop, won't stop. So what's the big idea? What's the big premise? What's that thing? What is that? Like, tell us how we can tap into that.
Devin, the first thing that you've got to do, and what's funny is I had a conversation with someone very close to me this morning about that very thing, is you have to get in the mirror. Your best friend, your biggest opponent, your worst enemy is right there. And until you step into that cage, my son's that is a professional fighter. So everything is like, my analogies are about getting into the cage, because him and I, he's 23 years old. We had that conversation. He goes, Dad, he said, it's one thing to train. It's one thing to, talk a big game. It's another thing to, have all the talent and say this and say that, and you're going to do this, you can do that, until that cage door shuts. Mm-hmm. And then it gets real. And life is like that cage, right? And so when you step into an MMA cage, it's got 8 sides and it's caged in. You're not getting out, and you're looking across at an opponent that's ready to take your head off. Well, guess what? When you look in the mirror, that's the same opponent, and it's you. And so, to have that fire, to have that explosion, to have that want to go out and do more, it starts with that person in the mirror. You got to make a decision. Am I or am I not? Will I or will I not? And that's really what it boils down to. We talk about this all the time. Your potential, just your life potential, what you're capable of. It takes the same amount of energy to do nothing that it is to do something. One of my favorite quotes. I did Cal Jam one time, and Billy asked me to speak about 30 minutes before I walked on stage, because someone didn't show up, but he got the call, and he looks out there and he sees me. He comes out, hey, can you pull this off? You know me, I got this. Mm-hmm. So the quote and this is the only thing I had nothing prepared, but I started with it and I ended with it. To avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. Well, you know what, Devin, somewhere along the line, it came to me, and I know when it happened. I remember the day that it happened. God laid his hand on my shoulder, said, you'll be a chiropractor. And that's not just a story. That's not just words. That really happened. You can't take it away from me. And that was the day that I understood. Well, that's the event. I later figured it out. I understood. I was called. I was chosen. There was a decision made in a universe somewhere that this guy has something to do. And what a huge disrespect to our maker to not get up every day and work to fulfill that potential, because that was what we're all designed to do. But some of us step into it, some of us don't. And it starts with that person in the mirror. Until you get right with that person, you get truthful, you get honest, you get raw, you ain't going anywhere. But once that happens, now the gates start opening.
So everybody needs to go pull up the song by Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, right? I will
Absolutely.
Always Josh Spears sang that at a seminar one time. That'll stick with me for a lifetime, but it's true. It is. You are the question. You are the answer. You are the champion. You are the enemy, all of it. It's the greatest game of one-on-one that you will ever play. And, that calling doesn't go away. So like the nudge to do focus, to do these things, it was going to come for you no matter what. So you either heed the call or you create your own hell trying to run from the call.
Well,
right?
You do. Yeah, you do. And when you're called, so many people, the door opens. Like when Focus, 12 years ago, Focus, you know the story. Many have heard it. I've told it a million times, and it's like it happened yesterday. Matter of fact, what's interesting is where I sit right now in my house, the road at the end of my driveway is the road that I was riding on. The bike, I rode 16 miles out, and God said, focus, the fountain of chiropractic understanding. And I turned around, and by the time I got home, I already had seen it. I had my first talk done. I hadn't spoke anywhere but Pinnacle at this point, 20-minute talk. This was like this. It was a calling, and it was a hope. And I could have said, nah, I don't want to do that. Here's the deal. No, I couldn't have. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't an issue. I came home and I told my wife, Shannon, I said, sit down. I got to tell you something. And every time I say that, she just takes a big deep breath and sits down and goes, what's coming now? But again, Devin, our lives are consumed with these moments.
Amen.
You know what? There's just a difference. There's a difference on the way we approach those moments. And when you and as a chiropractor, when you we talk about innate intelligence, we talk about universal intelligence, but so many chiropractors and so many people in general live in contradiction. Their contradiction is, I am a chiropractor. I believe in our philosophy, but they don't live it. You can't live one way and do another. You can't, you just can't live in that contradiction, because the greater the contradiction, this is Patrick Gentempo, the greater the contradiction, the greater the destruction. And what I've learned is within chiropractic, the ones that are truly successful, the chiropractors that are just blow up. My daughter's a perfect example. I've worked with doctors that's been in practice 20 years, and they're still stuck around 80, 100 a week. That young lady, a year and a half, she blew past 230 in a week. She saw almost 80 new patients in a month. During COVID, during a storm, during all the excuses of why, because she's living that in it. She lives in her belief. She doesn't live one lifestyle and tries to practice another, and they have to be together in order to have. And it doesn't matter if you're a chiropractor. It doesn't matter if you run a hair salon. You have to live what you preach, and that's where a lot of people get in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, we're witnessing that in the world, right? And
in a huge way.
In a big way. And so where, I've had people ask, like, can't you just wear the mask?
Yeah.
And I could, and it puts my system, my health, my happiness, my soul, my connection to God at dis-ease. And then for me, I'm not saying that's everybody's contradiction, but it's mine.
It's mine too.
It's not a price that I'm willing to pay. And so what happens when you feel the call, or when you feel the sharp edges of those contradiction? How do you tap into the courage to heed the call, to speak your truth when it's hard, right? Because we got censorship, we got all these hard things. How do you lean into that?
That's an interesting question. You call it courage. I guess that it can be. I think, I don't think there's a choice. I have the personality, and I know not everybody has this personality, but my personality is jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down. Or as my son's wrestling coach, Coach Lauren, I love the man. He's old school, rough, hardcore wrestler. I mean, 4-time state champion, OU All-American, world champ. I mean, this guy's just hardcore. And my favorite saying is, he said, I got to tell those boys, you got to learn to pull the trigger and aim later. And I thought, that is life, man. You got to go. And Devin, when you have that calling, it's not a matter of having courage to follow through. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's courage. I think it takes more courage not to fight it. I mean, it's a bigger fight that you have. You're fighting the universe at that point, and you're going to suffer dramatically for it. But if you understand that life happens for us, mm-hmm. These opportunities are a way of expression. And here's the thing: we never know how far outreaching something we think, say, and do today. We don't know that. It's absolutely unbelievable when you start putting that into motion and let your mind run down that rabbit hole. So when these opportunities arise, no matter what the opportunity is, if you neglect mm-hmm. your opportunity to do more, serve more, be more, it's not. I don't think it's courage to step into it. I think it's disrespect not to.
Amen.
And when you look in the mirror, mm-hmm. that person you're looking at, do you respect them? Well, if you don't, it's because you disrespected the power that gave you the opportunity by not assuming your role in it. Mm-hmm. I guess that's probably what I believe more than anything. It's not a matter of courage. It's a matter of respect you're being given that. It's like, God gave you a gift and you said, no, thanks. Mm. No, we don't do that. Some do. And then that's where it gets people in trouble. in trouble.
There's that YouTube video, that like pump up one, where he's like, you lay on your deathbed and all your dreams and ideas come to you and say, I came to you. And you didn't, the graveyard is the richest place on the planet because there lies the dreams unlived.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying, and it's funny because I've done multiple recordings this week and every single one has that thing of come back to your intuition, listen to that calling when you're tapped on the shoulder, and so I do think in a world full of noise and this is right and that and chaos and bickering, I do think a blessing in all of this, because it happens for us, right, is that return to listening.
Yes.
And those innate whispers and and they've always, at every turn, those have served you. Yes.
Yeah. And it's reflection. This is what's really crazy, Devin. My life has been kind of crazy. Shannon and I went to dinner last night, and it's funny. I said, we just recently had a party here at the house, a Valentine party, and all the couples that came sent Shannon, my wife, pictures of them through the relationship, like getting married all the way through, and it was cool. So she had a slideshow. We have a TV that can do that, and so we're seeing all these pictures. And well, the reason I bring that up is I was going through back in the day when the kids were young, we didn't have iPhones. And so we actually took pictures and we have boxes and boxes and boxes of all the pictures. And I'm trying to find a certain picture of her and I that I remember, but I couldn't find it. So I'm digging through. Man, once you get started, I'm there for hours. I'm looking at our life. Your life is, and I said to her last night, I said, gosh, I said, I get started in those pictures and we have had an amazing life. And it has nothing to do with success. Even back when we first met, we had nothing. I mean, we had less than nothing. We were happy. We've had such an amazing life. And I said, but here's the thing. Oh, something more's coming. We're just getting started. We haven't seen anything yet. And Devin, that comes from a knowing that I just read this quote the other day, and one of the guys shared it. I loved it. He said, and I don't remember who said it, but he goes, the future is going to be kind to me because I'm creating it.
Oh, I love that. And we could stop there, guys. And whoever you are, wherever you are, repeat those words back.
It is. You're the creator of your own movie. And so
going to be kind to me because
I'm creating it.
And
here's the thing, Dev, with all the things that's going on in my life, I just lived, right? I just lived it. And where I started to where I'm at, I just lived it. You respond with the tools that you've been given and the environment that you've been given it in. And now looking back, when I reflect on my life, some of the events, some very, very significant, profound events shaped and changed who I was, even when I was little. But when you start breaking that down, you're like, what in the world? I mean, my life is, I lived it, so I didn't put a perspective. But when you start telling other people your story, they're going, okay, everybody needs to know this story. And why is it so significant? Well, then when you start deconstructing it, breaking it down, you realize that the events of our life that happen for us, not to us, and there's a decision to be made. I know so many people, I know people specifically that everything in their life happened to them. And I can't do this because of this. And my life is this way because of that. You're absolutely right. Because you created your future. And I'm looking back at my life, and I got some of the events that happened to me. I could have, my 6th grade teacher, Devin, set me in the hallway, got right in my face and said, you're a worthless little bastard and you'll amount to nothing. I remember sitting there and just going, I'm in the 6th grade. I'm out of the hills, not very long. How am I supposed to take that? I mean, how do you process that in the 6th grade? Okay, this bitchy old woman is telling me this, but here I am, I'm 54 years old, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Obviously, it made an impact.
Right. I think my husband, and you share a story like that, he had a very similar experience. And we're all just big kid versions of our little kid.
You're absolutely right. That's so perfect. Yeah.
And I think that on the one side of the coin of it happens for me, those are the life players that hold the ball and want the responsibility and realize I am creating. And to me is that victim mentality that you're along for some ride.
Yeah.
And it changes the game when you say, oh no, I'm driving this bus of my health, of my happiness. And I think, we talk about the principles and the philosophy of chiropractic, but that's what it's done for me in teaching me of this like power within. Talk to me about the difference chiropractic has made in your life and what it
Oh,
has
gosh.
opened up for you.
Well, so first of all, chiropractic saved my life.
Mhm.
It gave me life, Deb. I started seeing my uncle as a chiropractor in the fourth grade, and he was just Uncle Bill. And you'd go in, and I didn't know anything about chiropractic, and it was just Uncle Bill's a chiropractor. And we'd go in, and I'd get adjusted, and then through school, football and wrestling and all the sports, and I'd have this and I'd have that, and I'd go see Uncle Bill, but it wasn't it again. My whole world was so crazy, just trying to figure out, who I was. It's just not only did I come out of the hills, then we went to Springfield, Missouri on the north side, which was a rough part of town. You that's a whole different story. But with that being said, so chiropractic was just a part of my life, but it wasn't anything that was discussed or talked about. It was just there, right? Well, then at night, I was 18. I had turned 19, 18 years old. I break my back in a car wreck. I'm really significantly injured. It was, I shouldn't have walked away from it. It was one of those, again, God had a plan. And when I look back, if you was to see the car, see this, the whole event, it was impossible for me to walk away from that, but I did. But I was told at 18 years old that, I just started lifting weights. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I'd had enough. And I was told that you can't do it. All right. And that was the first time somebody said you can't. I was told I was a worthless little bastard. Then I was told that you can't do anything. So there's this fighter spirit. So,
yeah.
I was told by orthopedic surgeon that, well, I got bad news for you, that, your weightlifting days are done. Right. And you're going to probably limp for the rest of your life. I'm 18 years old. I'm going to be a bodybuilder. My whole future ahead of me was going to be based around this vision of who I wanted to become. Was just, the rug was jerked out from under me. And, at that point, my lower back was so swollen, I couldn't walk. It was a horrible deal. Well, what do? You go see Uncle Bill. Again, I look back and it wasn't like, I'll go see my Uncle Bill. He'll fix this. God just sent me to Uncle Bill. There was no preconceived idea. It was just what I did. Right.
Right.
And I told him what the doctors had said to me. And he was what we call a hillbilly chiropractor. He didn't take x-rays. He didn't do exams. He was there for almost 40 years. He had a big old pot belly, and he had his hands on his belly, and he just kind of smiled. And he said, I see. He said, lay down. He had some other choice words. I won't say it. But he started adjusting me. Okay. Like Uncle Bill did, adjust me. 6 weeks later, I'm back in the gym working out. 6 months later, I win Teenage Mr. Missouri, 1986. I competed for 25 years. Chiropractic saved me. Had it not been for Uncle Bill, had it not been for chiropractic, I would have bought into the lie that I was told. Who knows where I would be today? It would have been a different story that I've been telling. So when God called me to be a chiropractor, I went into the Navy to be a Navy SEAL. That was my whole world. I was going to be a Navy SEAL. And because of the accident, I started having back problems during training and stuff. And I'm 22 years old, and in the Navy, doctors, they did MRIs and the CAT scans and all the things. And they said, well, we know you have a problem. Then I'll never forget that day. It was 1988, Great Lake, Chicago, Med-Hold building. I'm standing here, look at this lady. She's sitting, going through my file, and I'm standing at parade rest. And she said, well, it says right here, they know you have a problem, but they don't know what it is. So they want to do exploratory back surgery. Okay, Deb, I'm 22. I'm straight out of the hills of Missouri into the Navy. I know nothing. I know nothing about anatomy, physiology, medicine, chiropractic. I know nothing. I'm going to be a SEAL. But something inside me said the phrase exploratory and back surgery should never be used together.
Ever.
Ever. And so I looked at her and I said, no, ma'am, you're not. And she got the confused look on her face. And I was, of course, I'm scared to death. I mean, I'm enlisted. I'm just a peon in the military. I'm telling her, no, you don't do that in the military, right? But no, ma'am. And she said, well, the only thing we can do is send you home. At that very moment, Devin, God laid his hand on my shoulder. And I wished I could come up with the right word. I've told the story so many times, and I can't come up with the right word. A knowing, an absolute knowing, you're going to be a chiropractor. And I smiled at her and I said, send me home. I hadn't thought about being a chiropractor. It wasn't a conversation that I'd had previously. It wasn't any of those things. It was, you're going to be a chiropractor. And so that was the summer of the summer of 88, January 89. I start my undergrad and I never stopped till I got my degree. Knowing that you were called, knowing that you were chosen, knowing that God hand selected you specifically to do something for him, for his people. There's not a bigger calling that you could possibly ever accept than that. And that's what gives me up every day. 26 years of practice and all the people that I've seen and the teaching and all the things that I do is because of that calling. So chiropractic, like what Dr. Gibson says, one of my favorite, I got lots of his, but his favorite quote of Dr. Hugo, chiropractic reached into my heart, wrapped its arms around it and never let go. And he's 75, 76 years old now. And
I can hear him saying it. Yeah.
I can hear it today. I can hear him saying it to me. And so that's chiropractic. It not only did it save my life, it gave me life. It gave me vision. It gave me direction. It gave me purpose. It wasn't by chance. It wasn't an accident, Devin, that this all happened. And I know that, and you can't take it away from me. That's why I don't think it's courage. I think it's simply living the life that I was chosen to live at the very best that I can live it. But we're human. We're flawed, man. We have this these crazy genetics and the chemistries and the environment and all this stuff. And so that's when the chiropractor has to get back in the mirror and ground your ass and decide who it is you are and who it is you're going to be and why. And then you move forward. That's chiropractic. That's what chiropractic has given me.
And that's one of my favorite things. Just like you quote Dr. Gibson, I'll forever quote you in that I know, and you can't take it away from me. Yeah. Like that. And so many people, when I listen and hear your story, and I think in my own practice or in my own life, how many people I sometimes witness, or, they buy into the prognosis, right? It's not just like, but they believe when someone says, you have cancer, you have this amount of days to live. You have this back problem. We're going, you're going to suffer with this autoimmune diagnosis for the rest of your life. And that's when, you get to decide, is my truth in their hands or is my truth in my hands? And when and you can't take it away from you, getting to that place of certainty and trust because of your connection with God and this certainty within, those are the universal principles in our stories that I'm trying to help take to the world. Because I think chiropractic gets sold as, I can help you with your headache, I can help you with your back. But chiropractic to me, like chiropractic to you, is so much more.
No, it's so much more. And Devin, as you were talking, a fact is, this is what people do. It's so easy to allow a diagnosis or a description become your identity. And this identity is, well, this is, it's not what I have, it's who I am. Tony Robbins says that about depression. One of my favorite Tony Robbins, people don't have depression, they do depression. But it's the exact thing. Here's the thing. I don't want anyone to think that we're making light of these bad diagnoses. You got terminal cancer and you got so much time to live. That's horrible. That is a fact that people face, but that's not your identity. That's not who you are at all. If you got, I promise you, as I sit here, I know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, if I was giving the sentence that you got 20 days to live, my 20 days is going to be spent living exactly how I'm living right now, because I truly believe I'm living in that path that was designed for me. Now, is there more? Yes. Do I have more potential? Yes. Can I be doing more? Yes. I understand all of that, but I will refuse to stop living because of a word, a diagnosis, an opinion about something from someone else. And so many people do that. They do it with their own damn profession. Devin, I talked to a young chiropractor last year. I can never get him out of my head. And he called me for help, you know, and he said, my practice is struggling. He said, it's so bad that he goes, doc, it's so bad that I was going to take my own life. He said, I already had it planned. It was decided. And then my wife got pregnant. We found out we were having twins. I can't leave my girls. And I couldn't speak, right? It pulled the air out of me because I'm putting myself, and I do this with everybody that I work with, talk to, help. I dive in. They get what you're seeing. They get it all, man. Here I come, because that's all I know. Well, but I couldn't speak. It pulled the air out of me because I put myself in this man's place. And when I caught my breath, I said, okay, I'm on the phone. I said, listen, I'm going to help you. We're diving in. I said, I got the answer. I know what to do. Let's turn this around. So I tell him just a few things, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing crazy, things that you and I do every day. He said, I don't think I can do that. I'm sorry. I don't think I can do it. I'm afraid to lose what I have. Brother, what you have is a life that's pushing you towards suicide. I don't know if that's what you want. And he never did accept help. And Devin, because I know what happened, he assumed the identity. He assumed the role of that's who he was, and it's not. I talked to a young doctor yesterday that you know very well, up there in Kansas City area. His uncle is a great friend of mine, so you know who it is. He's going through what most chiropractors go through and most people in business go through. They start out with all this energy, but then they're working hard and the business isn't growing like it's supposed to. You're beating your head against the wall, and I think I'm doing everything right, and I'm working, but I don't have the passion for what I'm doing. I just being honest, I don't have that. I don't have that, you know, and I'm just losing it. And I hear the despair and distraught in his voice. And I've been there. We've all been there. It's called being human. Right. So I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take me back to why you went to chiropractic school. And we talked about that. It's because his uncle made a good living. He didn't know what to do with his life. Okay, he didn't have a story. All right. We started talking. I said, tell me about the one patient, that one that you helped that you'll never forget. And he said, he goes, yeah, I got him. He migraine headaches, debilitating. He couldn't function properly. He couldn't do this. He couldn't do that. And we got rid of his headaches. And I said, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to call him and I want you to tell him that what you did for him really wasn't that important. It wasn't worth having passion or belief in. He goes, I could never do that. You're already doing it. And so what we had to do is we had to go back. And he got about 45 minutes of both my feet up his ass. And then I get a text message that night. He said, I was more intentional today than I've been in a long time. We had our busiest afternoon in months. Look, I'm going to give everybody a secret about running a chiropractic office or any business. If the people who come see you do not leave with a little piece of you, they have nothing to give others. They cannot refer to you. They cannot talk about you if they have nothing to give to someone else. You have to give a little piece of you. You have to give your heart, your intention, your soul, you have to give your consciousness to that person. And when they leave, they have that. That's a piece of you that they hold dear. And then they get to take that and they get to share that with others. And I don't care what business you're in. If you do that, it's not a matter of building a business, it's a matter of keeping up with it.
There's one of those mic drop moments of you getting both feet up our hind ends and setting the world back straight, because it really is that simple.
It is, Devin, it is.
The answer, whatever you do, parenting, life, love, career, it is that. You give your heart to it and it will always give you back more than you can wrap your mind around.
It is. And the thing about it is that when you're looking in that mirror, that person, that reflection, that best friend, if they're right and you give a piece of that, man, you change the world forever. But if you're an asshole and you give a piece of that, you haven't changed anything but their perception of you. Yeah. And so that's where it starts. It has to be a reflection that you're giving it. You have to be right. You can't live in contradiction. And so many of us are living in contradiction. I'm a chiropractor, but I'm going to take the COVID vaccine. Yeah, nope, ain't working. I'm a chiropractor, but I don't adjust. I'm just going to do therapies. Nope, that's not going to work either. I don't really believe in a subluxation. I don't believe in innate, but I'm going to adjust you, make you feel better. Yep, you probably should have went to massage school. You just can't. You can't. I'm gonna cut here, and I'm gonna change. I don't really like people, but but I'm pretty good at this, so I'll do this. Look, I had this conversation with one of my patients who's a hairdresser and got really down and depressed, and I said, "Do you understand that you're not a hairdresser? That you don't cut hair?" And she looked at me really funny. I said, "That's not what you do." I said, "What you do is you take your talent, your time, and your skill, and you change the reflection of other people in their mirror, and you make them feel better about who they are, and that then changes their life." I said, "You're changing lives." And I'll never forget the look on her face. She just started crying, and she gave me a hug, and she said, "No one's ever put it that way." And I said, "Don't ever forget it." And now she comes in, and she's hired 4 more girls, and and I think it's like Patrick Zimpo says, you got to find your Miles Davis. You have to find out your purpose and why you do what you do. Devin, the reason I'm on here with you this morning, not only do I love you as a sister, like you're one of my favorite people in the whole world, I would do anything for you, but what you've done is you've stepped up. You've listened to your calling. You jumped off the cliff, and this is part of the plane that you're building on the way down, and it's an opportunity for you and I to have a conversation that might strike the chord in one person. And one person is all that it takes to make a difference. And that's why we do what we do. Hopefully we reach a whole lot more. But if we get one, that one means that's all that it matters to me.
Power of one, that hacksaw ridge. God, give me one more.
Give me one more.
Yeah. So we could talk all day.
Yeah, I know.
I got 2 left.
Okay.
1, I need a call to action for chiropractors or people who, whether you're serving with your hands or you're serving with your voice, right? We live in a day where censorship and truth, people are fearful to speak up even when they're called, or especially when they're called. So call to action for the truth keepers and the chiropractors, the light bringers to the world. What's a call to action here and now?
Well, the call to action is, again, first, like we've been talking about through this whole thing. The first thing is get in the mirror, get right. Get right. When you look in that mirror, who is it that you see? What does that person do? How do they do it? And why do they do it? When you get right with that, then you take that and you move forward. And the thing about it is, what are we afraid of? The call to action is take action. Step up, step in. Listen, you may just be in your mind, I'm just a chiropractor. All I want to do is build a practice, take care of my family. And that is amazing because I did that, my gosh, for the first, I don't know how many years. I raised my family, I built the practice. But my call to action was my truth. When I talk to a patient, when I talk to anybody about what I do, there's no debate. There's no gray area. I don't care if you believe me. I tell the truth and I deliver on the truth. And so no matter what it is, your call to action. Here's the call to action. I don't care what business you're in. Anyone listening to this, here you got 2 things to do. You tell the truth, your truth, not someone else's truth, your truth. Own it. Own it like you own your own eye color. Own your truth and then deliver on that truth. And that delivery system is up to you. There's a lot of different ways, but if you tell the truth and deliver on the truth and you do that every single day with the pureness of what you own, you can't be stopped. No one can stop us when that happens.
I'm gonna be so fired up when I get off this call. Like I can't, this is why. This is the permission that he bopped me on my little head with 10 years ago to step up and speak out and live in the fullness that God had stitched me together to be. So now he's passing it to all of you. Last thing, I'm a mom. Above anything, like my 5 babies and the moms that I get to serve in my practice, the moms that I meet out in the world, they're heavy and they're tired and the world's been a lot. What can you say to speak life and hope into the mama bears out there?
Oh my goodness. You know, what's funny is I just had this conversation. I did a webinar for a bunch of chiropractors here recently, and a lot of them are the female chiropractors, which all the mama bears, the ones that stay at home moms, the moms at work that come home, the things that you do, female chiropractors, listen to this, you are the most amazing creatures on the planet. what you do, I can't even wrap my mind around. I'm coaching female chiropractors and they're asking me for advice. And I'm like, well, first of all, I feel like a fraud. I've never had a baby. I've never been pregnant and had to adjust. I've never adjusted all day long, come home, do the laundry, do the dishes, feed the kids. I've never had to do that. And what you guys do are amazing. So, you know, here's the thing. I guess I'll tell you this. My mother is a saint. There's Mother Teresa, and then there's my mom. And I don't know who's ahead, but the woman has worked. I could do a whole podcast on the jobs that this little 5'2" country girl did. Men's work, like men didn't even. Matter of fact, she's done jobs that men didn't want to do. She did, and she raised us with everything, with her heart and her soul. But my father passed and left her with nothing. And I had the opportunity now. I built her a new home. I take care of my mom, and she feels embarrassed by it. It bothers her that that I have to do this. And this is what I told her, and this is what I'm going to tell the mama bears. Mother, what you did for me in my life, there's no amount of money that can replace that. What you did, you sacrificed and created this because of your kindness and your hard ethic and everything that you taught me by, not by words, by example, that you created this that has been given an opportunity to go out and serve so many and help so many people. So she felt like that her whole life was just really didn't mean a whole lot. Like, what did you do? And are you kidding me? You changed the world, Mom. You changed the world. What you did was create an environment and live by an example that your kids went out and did for now my kids that are now doing with my daughter, Alicia. This is what's happening. So Mama Bears, every day that you get up and breathe, you're changing the world. It's more than doing the laundry. It's more than the dishes. It's more than going to work and coming home. It's more than doing the homework. You don't understand. You're investing your heart, your energy, and your soul into a process that's changing the world for the better. You don't have a job. You have a calling, and it's the greatest calling on the planet. I admire, I revere. Gosh, you know how I treat my wife. She is. I mean, she's my world, you know, and I treat my mother that way, and all women get more respect in every girl that comes in my office. And those are my sissies. Those are my babies. Those are my daughters. Oh my God, I see who they are. Gosh, you guys are changing the world, and you are changing the world. You're gonna have to understand, Mama Bears, understand your calling, your place, how important it is. The rest of us, I sit in my life because of my wife. You know, Tony says we have 3 kinds of people in the world. We have artists, managers, and entrepreneurs. You and I, sister, are the artists. We're batshit crazy. We don't know if we're coming or going. I use the analogy of a kite. I'm in the air all over the place, and my wife is standing there holding the string going, I got you. She's the manager. You got a manager too, right? We run those roles. Mama Bears, whether you are a artist, a manager, an entrepreneur, your roles are the most important roles on this planet. Please step into that role with pride. Please, that's your call to action.
And I mean, you got me and I'm sure everybody else crying in that one. And I say it to moms, and I don't for a minute want to devalue the dads. I'm married to the kindest, most amazing dad on the planet. And I see the way you show up for your children and your wife. And so I ask for moms, but it's to all of us. In reality, we want to change the world. We just need to build homes of love.
We do. But you know what the number one, response from a dad and a husband is? Ask your mom. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason. You know, I heard a comedian one time say, I went to every football practice. I was at every game. I bought the cleats. I bought the football pads. I sweated with him. I worked out with him. He makes it to the NFL. The camera's on him. And what does he do? Hi, Mom. You know, it's such a beautiful thing. You know, I'm Dad. I call my son, hey, Dad. My wife calls, hey, Mama. It's just an immediate, you know, but it's so true. You know, you gotta have a team. You know, we could do a whole talk. I've been getting asked a lot of things. You know, being married right at 25 years, we're on an endless love affair. I mean, we date every day, and that doesn't just happen. It is created, and it's created out of intention and attention.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the mamas, you guys hold it together. You just do.
And we'll leave with that. I would love to have you and Shannon back in to talk about, you know, love hard, dream big, you know, because the two of you, where I've been to this beautiful house of yours, the home and the foundation and the bonds that I see in your children and in focus and in everything that you do, the two of you really are, I mean, just the biggest inspirations to Joey and I. And maybe we can have you guys back to share how you build a home and a foundation like that.
You know what? If I can get her to do it, she.
I'll bribe her. I'll find a way.
You find a way.
We might have to do it like from a beach somewhere. Yeah. I'll find a way to bribe her.
She's the most humble person in the world. She never wants recognition for anything, like at Focus and in seminars, and she'll hide in a corner. She doesn't even want me to mention her name. And I always get her. I make everybody stand up and applaud her, and she just hates me for it. Right. But that's what makes her so special.
Well, I am so grateful for you, to the moon and back. And I know that I mean, I've got a page full of notes, and the one that like just hit me right in there is, you know, the future will be kind to me because I'm creating it. Right. And
I live with, you know, it's what's crazy is I live with that. And, you know, that's something that I understand. And, you know, and it's one of the, and I'll tell you another, and I know I brought up Tony Robbins many times. You know, we're both big fans. I did the Business Mastery, and he said something, his quote, and I didn't have to write it down. Mm-hmm. And I've used it a million times, and I just want to exemplify. I want to live by this message. If you do in the end what you did in the beginning, mm-hmm. there'll never be an end. Mm-hmm. And that goes for your relationship with your spouse, with your kids. It goes with your business. Mm-hmm. You know, we start in our business. We're so excited. We have all this energy, and we're like doing all these things. 10 years into it, you're just kind of, no, do in the end what you did in the beginning, and it'll never end. And that's life. That's life. As kids, like you said, we're this big version of kids. Some mm-hmm. of us forgot that.
Yeah.
My daughter is 28 years old. Her office is exploding. She's so successful. And, you know, you spend a lot of time with her. You know her. She is a ball of sunshine, and she still will skip sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like the little girl
Bubbles and mermaids and she exudes joy. Yeah.
She makes my heart happy. All my kids do. I love all my kids. I love my grandkids. I love them all. But when I see Alicia just being Alicia, just my little, she's going to kill me when she watches this. She's my little Looney Bell. She had a baby doll when she was little. He called it Looney Bell. And that was her nickname, Looney Bell, Alicia. And she's to this day, you know, she's my Looney Bell. She's a ball of sunshine, but she exemplifies what I'm talking about, that joy, that walking in your walk, living that full life, even with her office floods and then her house flooded, and she has all these things. But when she opens a door to call a patient in, the look and the feeling on her face, it's like the greatest moment of her life every single time. She tells the truth, she delivers on the truth, and that's what we need to go do, sister.
Well, I think she was raised well. She had a few people leading the pack there. So thank you for your time. And now you know Dr. Tim Young, and you feel that clarity and conviction and certainty. And we'll see what this world opens up for us, because we know if we're here, it's happening for us.
Oh, absolutely. So
I'll bring you back on the other side of all of this. Thank you. If people want to connect with you, where do they find you?
You know, of course, everybody goes on Facebook. You can hit me on Messenger, but our website is focusokc.com, and you can go to that website, and it's like all of my programs, anything that I do is on there. but you can just go to Facebook and find me there. I get messages. I got 3 messages, one from Germany, one from Pakistan or somewhere over in Pakistan yesterday. And I don't even remember what the other one was. People see things and they're reaching out from all over the world. I've got chiropractors that I'm coaching in 19 different countries now. And they just want to be a part of what you and I've been talking about. And so we've got something special to share. So if you go to focusokc.com, maybe there's something there that would help you. And if I can help in any way, just reach out.
Yep. You got to when you find the fire, you sit by the fire, you stay by the fire, because proximity is power. So now you've been connected to this man. Go find him. Tim, I love you.
Thanks, Sissy. I love you too.
Oh,
Tell
give
your
all
family
my
I
love
love
to
them.
the young crew.
All right.